Welcome, everybody, sleuths, suspects, and witnesses. We are here for another installment of the Virtual Book Festival 2023. This is the case of the missing manuscript. There's a book that is missing from the library. We don't know who took it, and we don't know what's going to happen next. Every night brings us new interrogation sessions. If you missed any of them, go back and watch them. They're on our YouTube channel, and you can find all the links on our website. This is our nightly schedule. We have a smaller suspect room this evening. Some of our suspects are MIA tonight. So we may or may not have a shorter night. We'll see how the conversation goes. We will not be here on February 14th because it's Valentine's Day. And guys, I love you all, but I'm going to need a break. So here we go. Tonight, we have two really wonderful authors reading for us. Jann Franklin and Jann Rinaldi. I'm going to constantly get your names mixed up, you guys, so don't hold it against me. But Jann and Jann are two new authors to our Pages Promotions community, and I am really, really happy to welcome you both. You are now part of our family, so feel free to follow us on Facebook, follow the website, and you know, connect with us in every way possible, because now you're one of us. So I hope you feel welcomed. And at this point, you probably feel just a little tenuous about this new relationship, but by the end of the month, I think you'll be happy about it. So tonight, we're going to start with Jann Franklin, and she's going to read from her book, which is a children's book called Trading.
No, it's not a children's book.
I'm sorry?
It's not a children's book.
Oh, okay. I got your book confused with somebody else. See, this is what happens, folks, when you have new people join. And we have a lot of new people this month. So sometimes I get stuff wrong. I apologize.
That's okay. That's okay. Children could read it. Children have read it, but it's definitely a chapter book. So
Trading Bright Lights for Lightning Bugs. Hold your book up again so everybody can see it right in front of your face, because otherwise it disappears. And zoom it in so we can see it. Trading Bright Lights for Lightning Bugs.
That's harder than it looks.
Yeah, it is. You gotta like really put it in front of your face. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to hear you read a little bit. You've got about 8 minutes. So whenever you are ready, please take the microphone and read aloud.
Okay. Chapter 1, City Girl Interrupted. My father used to say, Jen, life throws you curveballs. You got to just keep swinging. I'd nod and smile, not realizing my father just delivered my biggest life lesson. My childhood took place in a small town of 20,000 people, and I hated every square mile. My friends and I spent Friday nights driving the drag, the loop around downtown, laughing at all the teens who trekked over from their even tinier towns. A town that didn't even have a drag? Thank goodness that we had our town, I guess. My number one college requirement was the campus resided in a city with a 6-figure population. Baylor University in Waco, Texas fit my criteria. In a city of over 200,000, I congratulated myself on the one-way streets and roundabouts and even the multi-level highway access that I navigated. My shopping expanded beyond JCPenney and Walmart to include an actual 2-story mall. My culinary skills grew as well, and I embraced the joys of artisan bread and a salad bar in my grocery store. After 4 years, I graduated and slid into an entry-level copywriting job in Dallas, Texas. Hello, dear friend. Where have you been all my life? The sights and sounds beckoned me. Jen, here we are, just minutes from your doorstep. This girl had found her home. Yes, I could brush my teeth and cook breakfast at the same time in my apartment, but I was 15 minutes from my job. Hello, best life. One fateful evening, I met my friends after work in a local bar. In typical rom-com movie fashion, my girlfriend brought along my future husband. As the new guy from her office, she had forced Mike Guidry into a night out with his coworkers. One look at those mocha eyes, the color of my favorite coffee drink, and there was no turning back. We talked for hours. Mike grew up in a tiny town outside of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We both migrated to big cities, graduated college, and grabbed jobs in Dallas with dreams of making it big. We both had small town values, but big city hearts. We were destined for each other. A fairy tale wedding 6 months later in my hometown with our mayor making an appearance. He'd gone to school with my grandfather, and there was a tale about a skunk in the principal's office. No one really knew the whole story, but it made my family small town royalty. Mike and I honeymooned in the Caribbean, settling back into our routines as Mike and Jen Guidry. We saved and bought a house and planned our big city life together. Small towns were for visiting family, not for living. How can you survive without a decent cup of coffee less than 10 minutes away? Henry came into our lives a few years later, his life blessed with the choices and opportunities of a big city. My son wouldn't settle for the racks on the local retail stores. Henry would have the childhood I'd wished for myself. My husband didn't share my enthusiasm. I exclaim opportunity and Mike bemoan the traffic. I rejoiced at my 5 choices of Chinese food and he griped about the drive to get there. I chalked it up to fatigue and work stress, but I should have known better. When James came along 2 years later, Mike's unhappiness filled our home. He'd earned a 2-week hiatus between projects at work, so I expected a change. He wandered around, the field of creases in his forehead not budging. Was it work stress? Possibly a midlife crisis? Was Mike working out a plan to trade me in for a younger model? Maybe he'd come home with a Corvette or a motorcycle instead. My brain shifted to Henry, about to start kindergarten in the fall. We had to choose a school and begin the application process. My list of prospects resided on my phone, warming my heart in our choices. Our menu ranged from progressive to charter to magnet to public to parochial. My kid had the world at his feet, and I had the list to prove it. But how to get my husband to sit down and narrow the playing field? After dinner, we put the kids down for the night. Mike plopped on the couch, giving off a strange vibe. The dinner conversation concluded with everyone agreeing that Shaggy and Scooby definitely were the brains of the team, while Freddie and Daphne should be kicked out. My boys took cartoons quite seriously, but Mike had no opinions about Velma's sleuthing skills, which struck me as odd. Normally, he had much to say about cartoon characters. Maybe he was eager to go over my kindergarten pros and cons list. Just after we sat on the couch, but before I pulled out the list, my father's prophetic words came back to haunt me. Jen, honey, I've really got to talk to you. There's something on my mind and I need to say it, but I don't think you're going to like it. Where did that anvil come from and why was it planted on my heart? This was it. I was being traded in for a younger, flatter model. Was I ready to start swinging at the curveballs? Jen, I'm so unhappy. I hate my job and I hate living in this house with its tiny yard. Every day I go to work and I can't breathe. All I do is think back to when I was younger and how much better my life was. This life we've got, it isn't working for me. Steady, Jen. Get that huge weight off your heart. When Mike was younger, did he mean when he was single? No, that heaviness on my heart was a foot. Mike's foot was planted on top of my chest. No wonder I couldn't breathe. Babe, there's a store in my hometown. It's called Big Ed's Parts and More, and it's for sale. I want us to buy Big Ed's and move to my hometown so I can run it. Was that a gust of wind or a sigh of relief from my husband? The second gust was definitely me. Yes, I was not being traded in for a newer model. There would be no Corvette or Harley in my driveway either. We were going to be okay. Whoosh, reality hit and a smaller weight returned to my chest. Within 10 minutes of my house, I could purchase a movie ticket at 7 movie theaters and 20 restaurants awaited my order. The countdown to my big city days had started with Mike's announcement. Lisa Douglas from the television show Green Acres said it best. You are my wife. Goodbye, city life. Green Acres, we are there. My mouth opened to protest, but Mike's face reflected pure joy. This was no city guy. My husband was a small town man dressed in khakis and a golf shirt. Oh, how I adored him with my very soul. He would die a little more each day if we stayed in Dallas. As much as I loved the bright lights, I had to give them up. For the love of my life, I would trade them in for lightning bugs. Goodbye, city life. Graceful, we are there. Graceful, Louisiana, with a population of less than 500. The men in my life discussed trees and open spaces. Mike began telling childhood stories, playing outside until the lightning bugs came out, running until he couldn't breathe. Our boys would create those same memories, running and playing until they were out of breath. As a mom of boys 5 and 3, I recognize the benefits of sending my kids outside to just run. But how far would I have to go for a good cup of coffee?
Well done. Okay, I'm hooked. I just added your book to my TBR. Thank you so much. That was super fun. I love meeting new authors. This is the best part of the festival. One of the best parts of the festival for me is I get to meet new authors. So thank you for sharing your work with us, Jann. We appreciate it.
Excellent.
Okay, next up, Jen Rinaldi is going to read from her book for us. Her book is titled One Day Closer to Death. Do you have the book?
Yes, I do.
So we can see the cover. It's called One Day Closer to Death. There you go. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, awesome. All right, when you are ready, Jen, please take the microphone and read aloud.
Yes. From the immortal words of Monty Python, I first start out by saying, forget about your sin, give the audience a grin, remember it's your last laugh anyhow. Two souls in darkness, Alex. I'm sorry, Miss Razali, we need to remove this tumor now. The sooner the better. We need to ensure that the margins are clean so that we can spare as much tissue as possible. After we're finished here, I'll have you follow my PA to scheduling so we can get you on the schedule for surgery next week. Do you have any questions for me? No. She swallowed hard as she adjusted her paper mask, grimacing at how it hid her feelings. As the word left her throat, a throat so dry that her word had no sound, her tears came unexpectedly, soaked by the foreign material strapped to her face. Alex gazed at her doctor in disbelief, his eyes a mix of sympathy and boredom as he waited to see if she had anything else to ask him. His PA then entered the room, and Alex left following him. No one acknowledged her red face or her tears, meaningless as ever in this place as it could be. She walked down the hallway, a long, dark one, of the oncology wing, all of the inhabitants well versed in the art of denial and loss. She was just wondering when this day would end. After all, the executioner had pronounced her sentence and she was on her way to her cell. She struggled to walk under the weight of the diagnosis, the single heaviest burden she thought she would ever bear. Why, God, why did I deserve this? My God, why me? Miss Razali, can I have your insurance cards, please? The tired woman asked as she looked up from behind her plastic shield, her eyes grim, her mask hiding any semblance of sympathy. Moments ticked by as the woman paged through a book as big as the Bible, clicking their numbers on her screen. Looking up with a furrowed brow, she whispered, I hate to be the one to tell you this, handing back Alice's insurance cards and snapping them on the table as if she had won the hand. If you need a mastectomy, your insurance will pay for the treatments, but not the reconstruction. Would you like to speak to our finance department? No, Alex said crisply as her mind screamed, just let me get out of here. They would most likely take the breast, and with any luck, the cancer had not spread, hopefully sparing her left. The surgery was as straightforward as possible with a good prognosis. After her labs were completed, surgery was scheduled for the following week, and chemo would commence soon after to ensure the last of those villainous cells would meet their end. Azrael. He hated hospitals, nothing but a 24-hour diner of souls, many of whom needed his guidance. Hospitals were far worse than gathering souls during wartime, he thought to himself. God, at least during wartime, you were expected and you were busy. Hospitals, just a purgatory for the living and the dead. Clad in his customary black, he hunched over like a vulture as he waited for the cue to enter the room, his hood hiding any emotions, only his posture betraying his apathy for the task at hand. He waited for that ping he would get in the center of himself, the feeling that let him know that this soul was the mark of his day. With a sigh, he perched in the shadows, ready to slip this poor soul into his belt for transport and get the heck out of here. Yet something in him winced, as if he were in the wrong place. Something's off tonight. I can feel it. This particular soul for whom he waited was untimely somehow, like it was the right soul at the wrong moment. After processing so many over the years, individual souls had become like gardening in fall, raking leaves into piles, each leaf a colorful individual, but just one of many to be bagged and disposed of. And tonight should be no different, except for this one. He felt her. She was covered, except for her chest, tubes blowing life into a body that he thought slumbered unaware. Yet she felt him. Her body jerked as she saw his darkness, and she was drawn to it. Smooth and pensive, her presence coalesced near him. Fleeting as a lightning flash, she drew him like thirsty lips to a glass of water as she lingered in that curious salle d'attente between space and time where the dying land before they take their final walk to the light. It was then Azrael felt that all too familiar ping in the center as he spoke to her. Wait, don't be afraid, you're not alone, Azrael's voice proffered. More confused than frightened and comforted by his voice, Alex walked towards the clad figure in dark shadows, instead of walking towards the light at her back as most souls instinctively did. Ignoring completely the frantic people in the operating suite, she reached out her hand. I don't know where I am, but I am certainly glad to meet you. Do I know you? You sound familiar somehow. Step a bit closer, the voice replied, reassuring her as she strained to see. He strained to see her, but his dark mist stopped him from doing so. Most never linger long enough for me to meet them. Please stay and visit a while, he said from beneath his dark hood. Her face framed in white light behind her obscured his view as he looked closer. Who are you? Am I dead? Where are we? I need beep, beep, beep. She's flatlined. Get the paddles ready. The air grew voluminous as the paddles of the machine were charged. All ears awaiting the shrill tone, alerting all that the life-giving weapon was fully charged and ready to hold this life right here with its powerful energy. Whoop, beep, beep. Alex, abducted from the quiet place she had been, was slammed back to the sound of urgent voices and the faint smell of lemon antiseptic and burnt flesh. Are you there? Why did you let me take them back? Alex, are you back with us? The masked green figure of her doctor said, panting. Her eyes focused on her doctor towering above her, wondering where she had just been. She remembered she was in surgery for breast cancer, but that voice in the shadows, she needed to speak to him again. She awoke alone, feeling lost, a soul in the darkness. Thank you.
Wow, nicely done. Thank you very much. Yet another book for my TBR. You guys, I'm never going to be able to read them all. You know, there's a meme running around on Facebook, something about I have enough books for the next 375 years. Yeah, that would be me. Thank you both so much for your readings tonight. I really appreciate it. Again, Jann Rinaldi's book is One Day Closer to Death. And Jan Franklin's book is Trading Bright Lights for Lightning Bugs. So stick around until the end of the night. We're going to be giving both of those books away on our spinny wheel of happiness. That'll be super fun. But now, the time has come once again. Everybody, turn on your microphones and get ready. It is time once again for interrogation sessions for the mystery of the missing manuscript. The sardonic manuscript has been taken from the library. No one knows who. No one really knows why. It is your job this evening to figure out the answers to those questions. We have 8 suspects ready for your interrogation. Chloe Holiday, a mysterious character. Melinda Falgo, who is a researcher, but interestingly enough, not in the room this evening. Ruby Fink is a psychic who has been working with Melinda. And coincidentally, she is also missing from the room. Andrew Allen Smith, an historical author who is trying very hard to sell his book to the library, is also mysteriously missing this evening. Amy Kelso is our head librarian. She is here and ready to keep the peace. Jules Nelson is our library director. He is also here and ready to help Amy keep the peace or help us. No, I won't go there. Marianne Wheeland is our cafe manager. She is mysteriously missing this evening. Deborah Reed is our intrepid reporter, and she is here. I'm sure she has a lot of information for all of us. So, again, you are welcome if you like to turn on your microphones. And this is our open conversation time of the evening. If anyone has any questions, for those of you who choose not to be on microphone, if you want to put questions in the chat, we will do our very best to make sure that your questions are answered. We have 15 minutes or so, everybody. So let the interrogations begin. Who's first?
So I just have to point out that Melinda and Ruby and Andrew and the cafe owner are all gone.
And
All
yesterday,
at once.
the four of them were hanging out in the cafe together. So what could that possibly mean?
Illusion.
Suspicious.
Very suspicious indeed. From our rebel rousers, do you guys have any?
Well,
any
me and
questions?
Amy,
Go ahead.
me and
Jules.
Amy were talking earlier about how you can see why a few of the suspects would want to steal it. Like Andrew obviously would know how valuable it was by his, his knowledge, and Melinda, it seems like it might be a family tie book, or at least in her opinion, it's a tie to her family. But there's a few that we're just not sure. Like, why would a psychic? Why would Ruby want anything? Why would she want anything to do with this book? Why would it benefit her in any way?
Yeah, it is kind of interesting that she and Melinda are, for lack of a better word, in cahoots.
Mm-hmm.
That does seem rather interesting to me.
Yes.
How did they meet again?
I don't know. One day they just started showing up together. Melinda said something about Ruby meeting her on the street and giving her some information about her past. I think that's what she had said.
That's what I remember as well.
But she was very vague. She said that it was because of Ruby, but I think she didn't want to give away what she had said because I feel like it would incriminate her in some other way. So
I have a quick question. Is the
Yes.
author of this manuscript, it's kind of a double question. Do we know the name of the author of the manuscript or no?
it is it's handwritten, and it's it's a
reference book.
Yeah, reference
Sure.
book.
So
Is
it's
the-
not
the
a novel.
author-
It is a reference book, which is not allowed to be checked out from the library. Correct, Amy?
Correct. Yes.
And does it maybe hold information of somebody's past that they're trying to just get rid of it?
Well, yeah, it could be,
Well-
but I mean, I flipped through it and it's in a different language, so I couldn't understand anything. It's got some really cute little sketches of maps and things, but other than looking at the unique handwriting in it, I couldn't tell anything that it was about. So
But Melinda can obviously read it, right? 'Cause she keeps, looking at it at the library and like,
Well, as I understand, she's been trying to translate it using the computer, using Google Translate and Babelfish. I think she said she mentioned using both of those
Yeah.
programs.
That's what she claims anyway, why she has to sit by the computer with her coffee and the book. Yes, but yes.
Yeah, coffee, books, computers, like those three things go well together.
So do we think there's like, do we think there's like a dark or insidious motivation, like with the maps and everything? Like maybe this reference book is about, maybe it's a treasure map, actually, rather than going the dark route of like
That's what I was
somebody
thinking. It's a
ancestor.
treasure.
Maybe it's like El Dorado or something.
That could be why a psychic is interested in it, though, because if it is more like a treasure map, that Kristen, a large cheese piece. Okay, I'm just going to ignore Christopher at the moment. And I'm
I'm
not
sorry, does that
So while they're laughing, Miss Nelson,
well, hold on, but what I'm saying is though, because totally I'm throwing Ruby under the bus here,
yeah,
is a psychic could totally want this book if it's a treasure map, because if she can see things, then maybe she's seeing things and she's just pretending, because she's always so vague. I think that, you know, that's purposeful.
So,
and that
so
she
are you
wouldn't-
saying that maybe this book is like the almanac in Back to the Future?
Well, yeah.
Or it could be like Milo's book from Disney's Atlantis.
Or
Where
National
it-
Treasure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
National Treasure, another good reference. Yeah.
Yeah. That
Even
it
if
could,
it wasn't,
Go ahead,
even
Chloe.
even if it wasn't a treasure map, maybe a psychic would know places to fence this. You know, if it's old and rare, maybe.
do we know if Ruby has been anywhere near the Declaration of Independence?
We
Okay.
don't know that at all.
Katie, we are definitely going to ask her that when she comes back into the room. Amy.
Maybe February
just-
4th of 06. Maybe that's the
ooh, could
numbers.
be.
Ooh.
I'm just curious,
Amy.
Ms. Nelson, you said that you looked at it and that you did see some cute little maps. Were you able to tell on those maps, like what they were maps of? Were they recognizable, or was there any, you know?
It kind of gave me the impression that somebody was taking a trip, but like I said, that all the inscriptions and everything were in a different language, and there was no X marks the spot, because I mean that would have been a little bit more intriguing. But
And the Sardonic language is a very old, Sardonia is a very old country.
yes,
And it's like old Hebrew. There are very few people who can translate it directly these days because it is so old. So Diana missed a couple of nights. So Chloe, she's asking, would you please remind us what your interest in the manuscript is? Do you have an
Well-
interest in this manuscript, or are you just an innocent bystander in all of
I
this?
just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, I think. Although maybe this is cool because I am a novelist, and there's a lot of good stuff here, maybe for a potential book.
Okay.
I
Anybody
think
else? Deborah,
convenient.
go
Seem
ahead.
like she's not interested, so that, you know, we won't suspect her. I think she has an ulterior motive.
Okay.
Oh, are we saying the lady doth protest too much?
Perhaps.
Yes.
I think all of us have been protesting too much.
Not me. Wait.
Oh, yeah, okay, Amy.
No. I just tell the truth. Looks like Jennifer Rains has her hand up.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Yeah, my question is to the two librarians. In Australia, a book of this antiquity and importance would only be handled in a special place with gloves. It would be cared for with a great deal of attention. So I'm just wondering, it seems that it's sort of been treated fairly cavalierly, as if it doesn't have a great deal of value at all. People can pick it up, people can move it about.
That is a very, and that question came up at the very beginning of our interrogation session. It's very interesting, Amy, that your library, and Jules, your library has been treating this book as if it were any other book.
We have it in the reference section. In order to go in the reference section, you need special permission. You cannot as Melinda didn't realize, of course, you cannot take books out of the reference section. Now, what are you? No, I can't. You know. Okay. The point is, we are not the, Smithsonian Museum that has guards and can protect and all of that. We are doing the best we can in a small local library to protect our books by supervising those who are there. Now, it is not my fault that I had to do my job and was called away when Melinda decided she was going to look at the book and wander off with it. That was not my fault. I'm trying to do all my jobs because some people are in their office all day and I can't do everything, okay?
My goodness. Wow. It's only day 9 and Amy's having a meltdown already.
Sounds like a personal problem.
Accusing me of being a bad librarian.
So
I will say that when we received the book, it was in a simple manila envelope when it was mailed to us. And it came with a note that was a little encryptic, which said that said to guard it because somebody might want to destroy it. But I thought it was just like an author, kind of like Andrew Smith, that was hyping up his book, wanting to drum up some interest. So I left it on my desk and Amy went ahead and put it on the shelf, I assume. And we just didn't,
yes.
yes, because that's her job. So we honestly, when it came in a manila envelope, I didn't really think that it was anything too dramatic until we had all this issues later, and then we looked up the value and it was quite a bit.
In a room.
So what was the return address? The return address on that manila envelope? Who sent it to you? I assume
it just was addressed formally to me, and there
no
and even
sender?
the little note. Yeah, and even the note just kind of fell out on the floor, so it wasn't even very formally packaged. So no.
So there was no return address. Isn't that intriguing?
That is weird.
That's why
Christopher, did you have a question?
How long had it been at the library before? How long has it been at the library?
Jules?
Let me think. Yeah,
It's
about
been
2
there a
years.
while. It's been about
2 years.
2 years.
And
yeah.
no one
2
seemed to pay any
years?
attention to it until suddenly Melinda thought it was the best thing ever and wouldn't leave it alone.
Mhm.
2 years. Do you remember how it arrived to you?
Yeah, because it kind of disappeared off my desk because while I had set it aside and then it was disappeared, but then I found out later that she had already cataloged it and put it on the shelf. So it's one of those dramatic moments where you're like, oh, I already lost this book. And then you're like, oh, well, it's there on the shelf. So it's good.
Just doing my job,
Yep.
Deborah, go ahead.
Well, actually, Diana had a question, which actually, I think she might have a point. Wasn't the book in the genealogy area instead of the reference area? But we keep saying it's in the reference area, and I'm kind of wondering why the librarians keep saying it's a reference book if it's actually from the genealogy section.
It is a reference book. It is definitely a reference book.
As I recall from the announcement of the theft at the very beginning, it is a reference genealogy book. So there are some books in the genealogy section which cannot be checked out.
If nobody can read it, how do you know it's genealogy?
Isn't that an intriguing idea?
Are those maps actually like family trees, or is it like I have forgotten the monk's name, but his pea plants and the Punnett squares and stuff?
That would be a really interesting question.
Is Rube war criminals and that book incriminates her family? Is that why the psychic wants it? Because her family has told her what they did.
That's a very interesting line of questioning, and I wish Ruby were here tonight so we could ask her.
I've gone dark.
We are going to ask her all of these tomorrow. Now we have a whole list. She is not going to know what hit her.
If she's really psychic, he already knows we're asking them.
Right? I'm sorry. She is so vague all the time. I don't think she actually sees or knows anything.
Well, you know what I think is interesting about this line of questioning, Katie, is that wasn't it Ruby who suggested Melinda travel to this particular library to do her research?
Yes, that's what Melinda said, was that Ruby stopped her on the street and
Yeah.
told her that that's what she needed to do. So
That's
Okay.
very intriguing. Now I really wish the two of them were here so we could ask them these things.
Mhm.
How convenient that they're not.
So
And
they're
I
both-
find it remarkably suspicious that they're not here the same time.
So
That,
they're both from another town
yeah,
Yeah,
and then they traveled here?
yes.
just like you.
Yeah, but I'm here alone.
Oh, yeah, unless you're here with Ruby and Melinda.
Yeah, did you
Oh, man.
come to the library to hang out with those two? Are you doing some kind of supplemental research with the two of them?
No,
And
I'm
Andrew's not from this town either, just to clarify, just to remind you.
Yeah, and I told him not to come, and he showed up anyways. So.
Oh, that's
So,
true. You
pushy.
did tell him there was no room on the schedule.
So
right?
is it possible they're all after this? I mean, I guess so, right? They're all after the book for one specific reason or for many different reasons? I
Well,
don't know.
that's the $50,000 question. Who's after the book and why?
We
Yeah.
get $50,000 if we figure this out.
Oh,
Like, try
yeah.
harder.
Monopoly money.
oh,
Ah,
We have 30 seconds. Does anybody have one last question?
I do.
Yes, Christopher.
Are there other copies of this book in other libraries, or is this a standalone single copy that nobody else can find again ever?
It is a handwritten genealogy reference book, so there's no other copies of it. So
And you're for
Now,
sure
there-
genealogy.
Deborah, didn't you at one time hear scuttlebutt in your reporting circles about there may be additional copies of this book? Am I getting that wrong, or did you say that?
let me check my notes. I did write a bunch of notes about all of this.
Well,
Hold
and
on.
I know that you've been doing, you're going after your Pulitzer, so it's probably in your notes somewhere.
Yeah,
Did-
it should be.
Is it possible somebody's like getting this for like to find like a family member because this family member has money, like maybe they need to know where they're linked up because somebody has money and they died. So if they have
Could
this
be.
genealogy book, they
Could be.
approve that
We
stuff.
do remember that Melinda was saying something about there was a family connection for her.
she
We don't
did
know
say
what it
there's
is.
a family
though.
connection, and she did suddenly have money to give a sizable donation to Miss Nelson.
Right. See?
Okay,
Deborah,
Miss Librarian, if you would be quiet long enough to let other people talk, I
this
was
is
asked
it.
a question.
Deborah's going to
Okay.
answer this question, and then we're done for the night.
So, Miss Diana, I
Yeah.
do not know that I had anything noted about other copies of this book. I do know that other valuable books have been stolen recently, which is part of what caught my attention about this one when it suddenly went missing when we
Isn't
were all there.
That an interesting tidbit of information. Okay, folks, that's where we're going to close the interrogations for tonight. Thank you all for your wonderful questions and conversation. Of course, the big question is, who did it? And why? Why is also out there as well. Remember, the festival goes through the end of the month. We will have the big reveal party on the 28th of February. You can watch the replays, which will be posted on our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, and the website for additional intense scrutiny, because now you guys are all digging in interesting places. I'm very curious to see where this is going to go next. At the end of the month, you will go to the website, you will sling your accusations, and we will give away prizes. There is a bunch of loot, things like books, things like ebooks, things like swag, things like Amazon gift cards. So we're giving away some loot for whoever figures this out. If more than one of you figures it out, then we're going to put your names on the spinning wheel and we'll determine the final winner that way. So that's how that's going to be done for those of you who have been asking. We also have a scavenger hunt going on our website. Thank you to Riddle Master Jacob Bullen for helping me with this. He was astounding. If you've not noticed our scavenger hunt page, go to the website. You can find it there. Every day a new door opens. New riddles are presented to you. You will find the answers to the riddles in the titles of the books that are read each night. So take a look at that. The scavenger hunt form needs to be filled out and complete by noon on the 28th of February. Author fingerprint contest. Here we are, guys. Andrew Allen Smith is in the lead with 85 fingerprints at this time. Deborah is in second place with 79. Amy has 70 fingerprints. Jacob Bullen has 54, and Chloe, you are on the board with 47 fingerprints. Congratulations to our lead detectives in this case. So far, we have had 230 pairs of eyes on our interrogation sessions. So remember, authors, friends, invite everybody you know. Make sure that you name an author on your registration form, or several, if you would like to award several sets of fingerprints to different authors. You can name as many as you like. And remember, authors who name other authors, both of you get 2 bonus points. That's how that works, for those of you who are unclear. The witness ledger. So far, the 6th of February has still been our most attended evening with 33. And we hope to see those numbers continue to rise throughout the month. Next, we're going to do our spinny wheel of happiness. This is the fun part of the evening where we give away prizes. We have a really good time. Each night, we give away signed paperback copies of the books that were read. If your name is, if you registered to come into the room before 6:45 p.m., your name will be on the spinning wheel of happiness. So every time you come, make sure that you register before 6:45. If your name shows up on the wheel as a winner, you will send me an email at diana@pagespromotions.com with your mailing address so that we can get your books signed and sent out to you. All right, tonight for our lightning round, tonight's fun lightning round. It's a fun question, I think, and it's for all of you because you're all readers in the room. Name a book from your childhood that you insisted on giving to another child when you were an adult. So what's one book that you have made it a point to pass on to a child in your life? Christopher Gare, we're starting with you. Title of a book that you've given as a gift to a child.
Salem's Lot.
Because that's a well-known children's book. Absolutely.
Sounds about right.
Jen Rinaldi, what about you?
Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Oh, classic. That's awesome. Deborah, read.
The Hawk and the Jewel by Lori Wick. It's called The Hawk and the Jewel. I read it so much that it was literally falling apart. There was almost no cover left. And there was a girl in my church who absolutely loved to read, and she just couldn't get books fast enough for her parents to keep up with her. And so I gave her a whole bunch and I said, you need to read this one.
That's awesome. I love the books stick in your head like that. Jules Nelson.
Actually, the one I've given the most is Monster at the End of the Book with
I'll leave that one.
I love that one.
Okay, who has that one memorized? Who has that one memorized? Okay, Chloe Holiday, what about you?
Dory and the Blue Witch.
Who wrote that?
Oh, well, I could have told you, but my mind just went blank. So I'll put it in the chat when I think of it when I'm up.
Yeah, that would be good. Deborah.
One.
I'm sorry, Deborah Harris. Go ahead.
Green Eggs and Ham.
Fun. Mandy Joe. Microphone, Mandy. Okay. When you find your microphone, let me know.
She might be typing it because she said that she was in a room with other people.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh, Dr. Seuss books, she says in the chat.
Awesome. Okay. Oh, Patricia Coombs. Okay. Thanks, Chloe. Diana Durrell, a children's book that you've given as a gift.
There's been so many.
Just pick one.
Beach Buddies by Deanna Compton. She's an indie author.
Okay, awesome. Oh, I like that you chose an indie author. That's great. Deborah, I don't see your last name. If you can go ahead.
Jonathan Livingston Seagull. That one too.
Also classic. Jan Franklin.
Amelia Bedelia.
I love it.
I remember that one. That was fun.
Oh.
Lynn Mason.
Cars and trucks and things that go. By Richard Scarry.
Love Richard Scarry. You know who my favorite? Worm. The little wormy guy. I love him. He's
the little bug. It's a bug.
Yeah, but
No,
I like
there's the
I
worm and there's a gold bug. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
Gold bug.
Wormly. He's the best because
Yeah.
I always tried to
Oh.
figure out how he kept that cape on because like
Yes.
he doesn't have shoulders. So
She was my favorite too.
yeah, so cute. Emma Palova.
Czech Fairy Tales by Jan Drda. My grandkids are reading it now. Klasické české pohádky. Yeah.
That's so fun. I love that you're passing on culture. That's awesome.
Yes.
Very, very cool. Dana Storino.
Hi. I just got for my kindergarten class, Miss Nelson is missing, and then Miss Nelson returns. I love those. So I read that, and they love them too. So it was great.
They're
Those are
magnificent.
Super fun. Let's see. Who's next? Oh, Jennifer Rains. Go ahead.
The first thought that popped into my head was actually Anne of Green Gables, but it's very
Yeah.
old now. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I think I was 12 when I read that.
I love Anne of Green Gables. Oh my God.
Yeah. I was not as impressed with the TV program, but I really liked the books.
Yeah.
I know. I like the TV too.
Amy, what about you?
The one that came to mind first is called The Good Night Book. Not the one anyone else knows, but it was back from the 70s. My mom read to me every night for bed. I read to my kids and passed it on to my sister who read it to her kids too. So
Very cool.
Nice.
Again, I love that passing it on through generations.
Yep.
Lori Harris.
Secret Garden.
Another good one.
That's good.
That's awesome. That was a film adaptation that I really enjoyed. That was good. Katie Spina.
The Day Jimmy's Boa Ate the Wash.
I remember that.
That's just the best.
It's one of the few snake stories that didn't freak me out. Because it was just so ridiculous. It couldn't possibly be true.
And I loved the way the story was told.
Yes. Yeah.
That's my favorite part.
Yeah, the narration style of it was really fun.
Yep.
Preeti, what about you?
I don't remember any storybooks, but textbooks, yes, I've passed on to my cousins and friends, juniors. Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. Passing on knowledge. I like that. Jake, do you have your microphone on, or you can put it in the chat? Your choice. Deb McPeak.
Yeah.
Okay, Jake, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd probably piggyback on the couple, like the Cat in the Hat series, and then a lot of Czech stories that have been passed on from my parents alike. So yeah, pass it on.
Very cool. Doug McPeak, go ahead.
The Velveteen Rabbit.
Oh, breaks my heart every time I read it.
Me too.
And yet I keep reading it.
Me too.
It's crazy. Okay, who's next? Frankie Storino, do you want to turn your mic on and share with us? Go ahead.
Go ahead, Frankie, turn it on.
What if I don't read?
He's got an author for a mom. He doesn't read.
Okay,
He likes
all right.
you like the pug books. Those pug books.
Okay. All right. So just this once, Frankie, because your mom's in the room. If you don't read, tell me the name of one video game that you really think is outstanding.
Gorilla Tag.
Say that again.
Gorilla Tag.
Okay. Awesome. Well done. I am of the mind that video games are a good idea because it builds puzzle solving skills. So, but you should still read books. So go to the library, Frankie. All right.
And be quiet when you're there.
Don't steal a manuscript.
Last but not least, Mackenzie, can you put in the chat what book you may have given as a gift? Pigeon books. Mackenzie? Did Mackenzie put? Amy, can you watch?
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, so Amy, when you see it, will you let me know?
I will do that.
We're gonna
Oh,
go
there we
on.
go.
Thank you, everybody. The book for me, the book for
Mackenzie answered, I'm greedy. I don't give away books.
Okay, you don't even go buy books with the intention of giving it to somebody else.
She's still at that stage where she wants them all. Yeah, they are, you know. So.
I'm Amy, I'm still at that stage.
Yeah, well.
So the book that I keep giving away is Santa Mouse. Does anybody know that story? It's about a little mouse who meets Santa and he doesn't have a name, and so Santa gives him one. I just think it's a great identity story. I love the inclusiveness of anybody can have an identity. And I love that book. Okay. Well, okay, here we go. We're gonna do the spinny wheel of happiness. And again, if your name is not on the wheel, make sure you get in earlier tomorrow so that we can get your name on the wheel. We're going to give away 2 books. I would really, really like it if our authors would hold up your books again so that we can see the covers. Jann Franklin, her book is Trading Bright Lights for Lightning Bugs, and Jen Rinaldi's book is One Day Closer to Death. Okay, Amy, can you read Mackenzie's note for me?
She said, I bought my best friend my sister's book, but he hasn't redeemed it though, so I don't know. But so she did give something to somebody. So
all right, well, all right. Okay, we're gonna have to work on your giving heart, Mackenzie. And one more thing before we spin the wheel, I'm curious to know, Jake, how did you hear about us?
Yeah, so my mom, Emma Polova, told me about this.
Oh, she's your mom. Well,
yeah.
Okay. Well, see,
Yeah.
I didn't know this. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you, Emma, for dragging your son along in our insanity.
Yeah.
I appreciate that as well. Okay, we're going to spin the wheel, guys, because it's 8:02, which kind of surprises me. Okay, here we go. Spinning wheel. I want to make sure that the sound is, because the sound is super duper fun. Hold on. Sound. Yep, sound. Okay, here we go. So our first book that we're giving away today is Jann Franklin's book, Trading Bright Lights for Lightning Bugs. Here we go. Yay! Okay, Frankie. Here's your Frankie. This is your opportunity to read.
Okay. You like that?
And so now you have to read, Frankie. You can't just pass this book on to your mother. You have to actually read it. I expect a book report when you're finished. Okay.
Mhm.
Here we go. Now we're going to give away Jen Rinaldi's book, One Day Closer to Death. Here we go. Emma Palova, congratulations. All right. Once again, send me an email at diana@pagespromotions.com and we will get your books sent out to you. Before we leave, I would like Christopher Gare to offer a parting comment about something you would like to have answered the next time we convene in the interrogation room. I know I'm putting you on the spot.
It's okay. I got one. This has
Okay.
been bugging me.
Okay.
Everyone keeps saying that it's a genealogy book, but no one's been able to read it. No one's been able to translate it. I want to know how someone arrived at the conclusion that it is a genealogy book.
I like that question. Very good. Okay. So there you go. Suspects, convene, figure it out, look through your notes, see what you can come up with as an answer. And Christopher, I will ask you to ask that question again tomorrow when we come back into the room. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I'm so excited that we're getting so many people in the room every night. This has turned into more fun than I ever expected. So thank you for entertaining me. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you again. Same bat channel, same bat time, tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Have a good night.
Good night.